Welcome to Heart of Economy. Last night, no one in America was expecting a surprise. Markets had been pricing on the same thing for weeks. The Fed will hold interest rates steady. And yes, Powell made that decision. But what happened last night was far more than just an interest rate. On that podium, it wasn't just an expected number being announced. On that podium, a silent strategy was declared to defend the dollar's global throne. Last night, Jerome Powell wasn't just a central banker. Last night, in that room, stood the last guardian of America's economic security. And behind that expected decision, a silent financial war began. $37 trillion. This is not just a number. This is the colossal mountain of debt on America's shoulders. And 28 trillion of that will have to be refinanced within the next 3 years. Do you know what that means? Every interest rate decision rewrites the cost of trillions of dollars. Every move reshapes not just the budget sheet, but the credibility of the dollar itself. But the weight on Powell's desk is not just debt. The BRICS nations planning to escape the dollar, the historic surge in gold reserves, the dangerous volatility and demand for U.S. treasuries, and the looming pressure of an election year. The picture in front of Powell is not ordinary central banking. It is a global geopolitical chessboard, and here is the critical point. A single mistimed move could hit not only Wall Street, but the very heart of the global financial system. That's why last night, Powell said something far beyond numbers. We are not cashing short-term wins, we are defending long-term trust. By holding rates steady, he didn't just send a number, he sent a message. And that message was clear. America's economic security is only won in the long run. This decision was not merely an economic move. It was a strategy to defend the dollar's global throne. For weeks, Trump has been sending the same message. Cut rates, weaken the dollar, boost the economy. For an election year, that's a powerful card. But when Powell stepped up to that podium last night, he opened the pages of history. Remember the 1970s. President Nixon pressured the Fed. Rates were cut too soon. The result? Years of stagflation. The credibility of the dollar was deeply wounded. And the Fed's independence faced one of its toughest tests in history. Last night, Powell was speaking to history, not just to Trump, but to every political winds swirling around him. We will not repeat that mistake. This wasn't just an interest rate decision. It was a silent act of resistance against political pressure, and at the heart of that resistance was not just economics. It was America's monetary sovereignty. Last night, Powell was really saying, to defend the dollar, we will not bow to political wins. After the decision, the market spoke, and it immediately priced in Powell's message. The US dollar index, DXY, surged, hitting multi-month highs. 10-year Treasury yield spiked again. The yield curve inverted even further. Equities, especially high-risk tech stocks, pulled back. The market was saying one thing loud and clear. This is not an one-night story. This is a long-term war. But do you know what was most striking? Gold. Gold's resilience sent a different signal to investors' minds. If Powell is playing the long game, the risk of a fracture in the global monetary order just went up. That's why last night it wasn't just interest rates being repriced. It was trust. And that trust now rests squarely on Powell's shoulders. Last night, Powell wasn't defending a rate. He was defending trust. The trust in the dollar, the independence of the Fed, and America's ability to honor its debt. That's why there were unseen faces in that room last night. Beijing, Moscow, London, Frankfurt. Powell's message was not just to Washington. It was to the entire world. The dollar is still at the center, and we will defend it without bowing to short-term pressures. And this wasn't just a central bank decision. It was a quiet declaration of economic sovereignty. Powell didn't completely shut the door. If the data supports it, a cut in September is possible. But the clear message was, no cuts without data. That statement crashed the market's hopes for a quick easing cycle. The era of a strong dollar just got extended, and the cost of America's debt just got heavier. The next 6 months will be a silent but brutal financial war. And this isn't just about interest rate policy. This is a war to defend the dollar's global throne. The most critical part of last night's decision wasn't the interest rate. It was that Powell was defending America's economic sovereignty. He chose long-term stability over short-term gain. But that choice has made the coming weeks far more tense because now everyone is asking the same question. If the economy slows, if Trump ramps up the pressure, can the Fed hold this line? And more importantly, can the dollar hold its throne in this war? What happened last night wasn't just an interest rate. What happened was Powell's attempt to shield America's future from short-term political storms. The dollar is at peak. Markets are cautious. Political pressure is building, and this is only the beginning. Subscribe to Heart of Economy because this story is just starting to be written. This is not just a story about interest rates, this is the story of the future of money. And in this story, every chapter will be etched into global financial history.